I'll do my best to pull out a few magic tricks to make sure you don't miss too much. Um, Thanks very much for joining. I'm not going to talk a lot about our company. I think you're here mostly to get some value. So if you want any information, visit us on our website or grab my arm later. Um, the main idea behind this talk is a lot of brokers are running themselves as either a financial marketing, financial services firm, more compliance, more technology. There are not a lot of brokers that view themselves as a marketing organization first and foremost. And I think, as you'll see throughout the presentation, that you should be a marketing organization that just happens to be in the brokerage business. If we take a look at the current market, most of the market leaders started a long time ago. So that's Saxo Bank in 1992, IG Group 74, but I think a little bit later they started online, of course. Oanda, FXCM, Gain Capital, and the same goes for most of the larger brokers that now have a lot of market share. They started very early. They grabbed a lot of market share, and that was that. They are market leaders because they invented the market. They're not because they're a special company. Of course, a lot of these companies have done things very right, but they were there because they were the first. And I don't think there are any examples of brokers that got a lot of market share after that without having some sort of a unique selling point. So for instance, there's eToro, Plus 500, IronFX, FX Pro. They all did something different. So eToro, for instance, they turned trading into a game, and Plus 500 has a very different marketing operational model. IronFX did a lot with the sales model in terms of having salespeople be sort of affiliates. So all of these companies did something different. And I'm not saying they did something right, but at least they have a very unique selling point. In the same way as Maslow has a theory about the development of people, where you have the physiological needs that you need to be met first before you can move on to the next stage of your development as a human being. In the same way, I have a theory about about brokers, where a lot of them get stuck in one stage or another without moving on, and I feel that being a marketing-led brokerage is sort of the top of the self-actualization of brokers. So companies that they focus very much on being a financial service provider, right? They have the best products or very different types of trading environments, but then they get stuck in that. So how do you then go out and sell that? How do you promote that? How do you keep on developing? And so again, these are the stages, I think, of the companies, and there are examples of every stage of brokers that sort of got stuck in that period. What is it to be a marketing focused broker in my opinion? First of all, every contact that your target audience has with your company shapes your brand. So if someone calls the receptionist, if someone sees your CEO talking somewhere, if someone sees a banner somewhere, those are all touch points. Those are all shaping the idea that your target audience has with your brand. It's not that you put a glossy advert in some magazine and that's your brand. It's a living, breathing thing, and everyone in your company works in marketing. So that's a very important thing to know. And to show this, I have some example advertising. This is a real example of a recorded customer service call from Zappos. You might have seen it before, but if not, you'll enjoy that. So go ahead and play. So, Zappos is all about service and about personality, but just goes to show that this DNA that they have in terms of their brand, in terms of their culture, runs through every single part of their company, including, of course, the customer service part of it. I think it's very important to know as senior management that, or to bring across to your employees that all of them work in marketing, all of them represent your brand, and that can be very important for shaping it over time. Let's see, this doesn't work. Can you move on to the next slide? Yeah. The second important part here is that you should always give people more than they expect to get. So customer delight is a whole theory in marketing and in other places, but it's something that every company should be doing. A marketing focused brokers make sure that people always get more than they expect when working with you. So when you run your company, you focus on customers. Of course, it goes without saying, but then delight them in unexpected ways, in helpful ways, and surprise them. And I think that's a key thing. One of the good examples that I heard from a company called ACM Gold, it's a African broker, African focus, is they send out a birthday cake to their customers every year. And surprisingly, that was like their number one source of referrals of clients. So it's just very weird. I mean, why would a brokerage send out a birthday cake? But if that happens to you, if your shoe company sends you shoe shine, something crazy on your birthday, you'll remember that company, you'll talk to your friends about it, and that's, I think, the key here. You need to surprise people. The second part is design is something that's not a very well understood or done aspect of marketing in this industry. If you take any part of your adverts or of your creative work, or if your emails to customers and smash it into pieces, would they still recognize this as being your company? And I think in most cases the answer is no. The subtle thing about brands and about creative design that is recognizable across the board is that people trust things they recognize. So if they have heard your sound before, if they heard a little Intel ping before, if they see the Starbucks logo somewhere, that brings up an emotion, that brings up unconscious idea about your company. So that goes into the brand. The very first company that actually did this was Coca-Cola. So when they got the brief for building the famous Coca-Cola bottle, the assignment was, I want you to break the bottle, and I want to be able to still recognize and identify this as being Coca-Cola. That's how it got started. I think everyone recognizes the shape here. If we then go a bit more specific into our industry, I personally recognize this right away as being City Index. If you're not in the UK, perhaps you don't. But I think that's something that this type of design runs through their entire marketing, and I think that's a very good example of it done right. CMC is another example. They always use the same colors, the same fade, the same type of text, and I think that builds a lot of trust in the target audience. These are some bad examples. Excuse me if someone in the audience made these. I removed the logos here, and I wouldn't be able to tell which is which. You recognize one? No? So all of these could be the same. So the important thing to remember here is that your brain is made to ignore same things. So if there are thousands of inputs happening all around you, there's people making noises there's lights, there's fans making sound, all the rest of that, you need to be able to ignore that. Your brain is actually made to ignore the same things and just notice if something is different. There's a dedicated part of your brain that does that sort of input, that looks at this type of input and sees what is different and what is the same. And people cannot afford to pay attention to everything at all the time. So to save energy, they focus on differences. This is an example of an ad. I just put some examples in here because they're fun. So something different. Go ahead. It's very silly, but it definitely gets your attention. I have the same problem with could you go to the next one? Yeah. Definitely gets your attention. Then another industry example. This is a search for Forex trading in google.co.uk. There are 4 results here. They all look exactly the same. 0.9 pips, 0.5 points, 0.6 points. Use the keyword. There are good reasons for this, technical reasons for PPC, but it doesn't help you stand out in any way whatsoever. This doesn't help their brand. This only makes gives them traffic. Saxo, on the other hand, very different. Change the way you trade FX. They don't even mention Forex trading in their ad text. So this type of thinking, rather than thinking just about results, thinking about how you can be different from all the rest of it can be very helpful. In the same way, if you look at websites of brokers, all kind of boasting, bragging, best broker in the world, won the most awards, we're the most trusted person, and then you use a stock photo of a dodgy-looking man. Sometimes it's worth it to work with professionals. One other point about what it is to be a marketing-focused broker is, if you take a nice girl on a date, you wouldn't ask her to marry you. So I think in the same way, you shouldn't ask your target audience to trust you, to open up an account with you before they even ever heard of you. Even though it makes sense to spend a lot of money on advertising, on messages that are there at the moment that people are ready to convert, you need to talk to them before, and it will make everything easier. If we do a big brand campaign for a customer, the conversion rates 3 months later are much higher. All the KPIs are lower. So this has an influence across the board, and it's not always direct. It's not always visible in reports in the same way. So if customers have never heard of you before you ask them to be a client, that makes everything more difficult. Then on the other side, as Gary Vaynerchuk says, you need to jab, 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 right hook. So give value, make sure people get the most helpful side of your company. So that goes analysis, text, seminars, webinars, even the way that people can sign up, all the rest of it. Make everything as easy as possible, but then when it comes time, you give them that right hook, and you ask them for their business. So the key is balance. It's push versus pull. It's giving value when someone is not ready to convert, and it's asking for their business when they are. The next point is that good marketing-focused brokers have optimization and testing in their DNA. So they focus on running tests all the time. So it isn't just your advertising, although you should definitely do that, but that goes for everything. Run this new email that you send your customers when they fund against the next one and see what gets them to trade with that fund the quickest. Then take the best version and test it again against something else, and do that across your business, and you'll continue to improve your results in all areas. very often the main decider when it comes to making business decisions is the highest paid person's opinion, the hippo as they call it. This person says, I like blue on this button, or you know, I want a photo of a trader on the front page. I think it works best. And the standard answer to that should be, okay, fine, let's test it. Whenever you do something, instead of taking someone's word for it, we are never right. We are always wrong when it comes to what performs best. You always have to test it, get data, and then continue to refine and optimize. So this is A/B testing. There are lots of ways of doing this, but A/B testing is just, you take one variety against another one, see which work best, then you cancel the worst performing one and you do another one. And you do that across your business. Finally, I think the marketing functions, and this is actually sort of a definition, the marketing function's primary responsibility is to find and communicate key differentiators. What else is there? Why should I do business with your company and not with your company? The reason is the key differentiators that you have. And in 1999, this is when all those large brokers came to the market. It was enough to just operate an online trading platform. That was a differentiator in itself, right? So, you know, you were there and all you had to do is make sure people knew it. It's very different now because there's so much competition. There are a few market leaders, but for the rest of them, you really need to do something else. So you need to think about who's your target audience, how can I best serve them, how can I be different from my competitors. So these are the sort of aspects that I feel, and then I'm sure there are others that you can differentiate on. There's platform. You know, don't have another MetaTrader 4 broker platform if you're not going to change anything else. It would be better to have a different platform. In terms of pricing, for instance, in the UK, it's a very price-sensitive market. Maybe you want to go the other way, be more expensive than anyone else, but have people there to help them in a better way. Service is another one. Advertising, S plus 500 shows there are different ways to execute your advertising. In terms of your brand, you know, it's sometimes as simple as having a better name for something is the reason why some companies succeed and some don't. Sometimes as simple as what your base colors are. I think everyone has heard somewhere, like in China, there are certain colors that are lucky and unlucky. And you know, if you have those colors in your brand, you might not get the customers that you might otherwise. And I think actually that goes worldwide. There are certain aspects that work well and others that don't, and that goes against, again, with the testing and optimizing approach. Finally, your budget is a differentiator in itself. If you have a ton of money, all of this doesn't matter. You can just buy market share over time, just because size is strength, right? The more customers you have, the more they're going to introduce to you by word of mouth. The more you can buy advertising away from your competition. So again, that's a key differentiator as well. The question to ask is, how can you do things much better? So again, this is our opinion, but these are the life cycles in a customer. They're interested in trading. They're ready to select a broker. They take a demo trial. Sometimes they don't, but anyway. They go for account application, they fund their account, they start trading, then they either stop trading, continue to trade with you, or go to a competitor of yours, right? So these are 4 very important stages: awareness, acquisition, conversion, retention. And as a marketing person in your brokerage company, you need to have programs for all of these. It doesn't stop at the moment you send that lead to sales. You need to then make sure that that you convert them through marketing automation or through other means. You need to do data mining to make it easier for your salespeople to sell to them. You need to make sure that you have a retention program to get customers that are inactive to become active again. So all of this, there are things that you can do, and I'll go through some examples now. On the awareness stage, again, content, um, thought leadership, making sure that you give value to your target audience is the most important. I'm a fan of Gary. There'll be a video later. There's a quote of him: "Content is king, but marketing is queen and runs the household." And what he means with that is that you need to push out content and you need to create stories, but at the same time, you need to advertise your content because and you need to ask for people's business because there's just too much out there to get along just on the strength of your content. On the acquisition side, you need to be there at the moment customers are making a decision. So in advertising, that's broker listings, that's that specific keyword in Google AdWords, that's specific types of websites, that's sending out emails, that sort of thing. Be there at that time. But also your website, make sure that it works well, that it's at hassle-free to the maximum in terms of signing up. All of this to the goal of not having to think as a trader, not having to think about what decision they need to make. They need to be as brain dead as possible in all ways. Once you have someone's attention and interest, you just need to get out of the way. You need to make things as easy as possible. You need to not give them any reason to doubt you. So all of the things that you do at that stage of converting someone are there in order to not offend someone, so to speak, to not get them not to buy you. You should just not give them a reason not to buy your product. You should make everything as easy as possible. At the retention stage, again, exceeding people's expectations, surprising them is often a very good way. Making sure that people know that customers are important for you. You're not just in it to generate new leads and to generate new business all the time. You need to exceed the expectations in unexpected and helpful ways. And of course, you can do that both with humans. You can have your salespeople call. You can have relationship people go. But there are also very good robots. There's marketing automation that takes trading patterns of people. Are they trading less this week than last week? Why is that? Is there something in the market? Can we do something to help you? Lots of different ways that you can automate this that will make the difference in terms of customer loyalty and increase your lifetime earnings. At the end of the day, the outcome of, I think, being a marketing-focused broker is you make business decisions on the awareness, acquisition, conversion, and retention outcome. So rather than thinking about it like, I run the IT department, and our KPI this year is to have the website up 99% of the time, or more. Instead of that, think about what it would do to the acquisition goal as a company if your website was up more. So it's just a different way of thinking about it, and this is the marketing DNA that I think everyone should have. Very numbers driven, but don't take it too far. This is just for fun, a little clip from Gary again. It's a little salty, so close your ears if you're sensitive.
reason I'm going to buy a multi-billion-dollar sports franchise is because of my mother. My mother, the way she parented me, which, oh, by the way, is perfectly, is the reason I have the ability, the confidence, and absolute wherewithal to execute the businesses that I'm building. However, my friends, at Inc. 500, I cannot come to you with slides and put them on those screens and say, over here, click. In 6th grade, when I got a mullet, you know, and my mom said I was gorgeous and beautiful and I could do anything, well, that was building self-esteem. And so what I did with that, on the next slide, is you'll see here, I sold a couple more cases of wine in 1994 because of that self-esteem, which led to this. And now, I can't show you. I can't show you in data the ROI of my mother. But I promise you, it's all of it. The whole kit and caboodle. Social's going to prove it. Because social has way better metrics than traditional. Some asshole stood at the top of the building with a clicker and counted how many cars drove by a billboard, and that's the metrics we're using. Do you know that people do little fucking Scantron-like cards to tell Nielsen's what shows they watch? Are you fucking kidding me? However, thank you for that one clap, that meant a lot. However, we keep poking holes in social. You know why? I know the size of your company is similar to what I'm used to. You're busy. You're doing a lot of stuff. You need to grow. I get it. But please, audit yourself. Figure out what you're doing. When people always talk to me and say, but how do you scale this? I say, you take all the money you're spending on dumb shit and you put it into humans.
So that's good advice in general. Stop putting money in dumb shit and spend it on stuff that makes sense, spend it on humans. The point of this was, besides just having a bit of fun, the point of this is that a lot of times when businesses make that change from being just, you know, we put out an ad and we see what happens, to being hyper focused on numbers, they go too far. So there are things like different media channels that touch the same lead, right? Like, so you have a lead, and that person has clicked on a PPC ad here, or seen a banner there, or maybe they've seen the TV ad. So how do you put this all together, right? It's an art and a science, and you can't always completely 100% put it into numbers. There are different inputs, and so you need to think about ways to get indicators, to get little KPIs before you get the big one. There are also not a lot of deposits that you'll get at the end of the day. You know, if you get 50 deposits from one ad, it's a whole lot, but it's nothing in terms of, it doesn't tell you exactly how that ad performs versus others, because the numbers are too little. So there is something beyond just the numbers, and I think that bears bearing in mind. So, with that said, does anyone have any questions? Anything you'd like to discuss, marketing or otherwise? What's the ROI of your mother, sir? Go for it. Yeah. It's a very good point. So, on the first basis, a broker, the word says it already, they're just a middleman, right? So they take quotes from liquidity providers and they give it to customers. So in the same way, you know, it's in keeping in that spirit that they should be doing marketing the same way. At the same time, I think, you know, if marketing is core to your organization, you should be doing it in-house, but not the bits that someone else can do better. So things like strategy, setting the strategy, should be done in conversations with everyone. But at the end of the day, the CMO or the CEO or whoever makes the decisions and writes the checks needs to make the decisions. But why hire someone to sit there and look at 20,000 different keywords and optimize them every day? There's no value in that. You can outsource that much better, and get someone that knows what they're doing on the agency side to take care of that for you. However, that being said, I think it's a valid decision. If you want to do everything in-house, keep those people in-house, keep those skills in-house, absolutely fine. It's just, can you find the right people to do that? And if you can, more power to you. That's my answer. Anyone else? No? Go for it.
Thank you. You were saying before that. Son? Yeah. You were saying before that you need to test the results of every single change you do, from the color of the button to the email you send out to your clients and so on. How do you isolate that single input from everything that's going on in the company? Everything from sales, from promotions, everything else you're doing.
You make a very good point.
That's one thing. Sorry, it's a kind of two-phased question. The second one is that you are saying that it takes time to see through the conversion process. It takes time to see the results of those changes that you've made. So you can change something now and see the results 3 months later, right? So first of all, how do you isolate and how do you track those changes throughout the months?
No, so it's a very good question, and the answer of the two questions are related, right? So first of all, whenever you do a test, you want to make all other variables as even as possible. So you don't want to change that color of the button, but then also have different text for the different types of buttons, right? You want to make it as even as possible. That being said, there are micro KPIs that you can use, right? So if it's about a button, rather than looking at deposits at the end of the day, look at what it does to your click rate, or look at what it does at people hovering over your banner, or something like this. So there are always KPIs that you can do, but again, it comes to the art and the science bit, where you still need to somehow make decisions based also on your insight and your experience. Does that answer your question?
How do you track it? Sorry. Moving forward, right? How do you track a change that you did 3 months ago?
Yeah. So there are tools for that. So on your website, you can use Optimizely to test different funnels, you know, for doing retention work or sending out emails. You can use marketing automation tools. You can track a lot in your CRM system. So it's a technical challenge, right? And then a lot of brokers end up hiring someone that's like their chief marketing technology person, because it just ends up being too much of an IT thing for a marketing person to do. So it's, I guess, work with the right people, but have the right tools too. Very important. Yep. Right. Anything comes to mind? No.
Thanks very much. You had a brilliant example of brand recognition with Coca-Cola bottle, right? And you break it, you smash it, and you can still recognize it. In terms of brokers, online brokers, well, we are essentially websites with bits of technology screwed onto them, right? Yeah. What else can we do apart from, what are your ideas? What else can we do apart from changing colors and being consistent with those? ACM was a good example of birthday cakes, but maybe it's not.
Yeah, so I think, well, this one is a bit louder. So I think the first thing to do here is that you need to look at your target audience and your product, and what is your culture in your company, what can you offer, and once you have that all figured out, you have a strategy, right? You know how you are different from other companies, and then you can tweak and have little surprising things in there to set yourself apart. But to give some examples, I mean, what if you stop doing marketing altogether and you just do seminars like some brokers do? Or what if, speaking top of my mind here, but what if you tell people that if you don't like it, all of their trades are for free? Or what if you just do marketing in Warsaw, Poland, instead of in UK, which is very competitive? What if you hire television personalities to do trading competitions? Or, you know, these are all not probably the most genius ideas, but there's lots of there out there to differentiate yourself. And so the areas which I think you should be thinking about are platform, pricing, your brand in terms of the look and feel of it, the countries that you're focusing on, the platform that you have. I mean, there are very few platforms that are different from the others in this industry that look very well. I mean, everything sort of starts to look the same. Why is that? If I know that it makes it easier to get people to come to your platform if you have the same one, but once they get used to your specific platform that is very different from everyone else, they're going to stick with you, right? So you know, it might be worth testing something like this. So there are lots of examples of different aspects that you can think about to be different, but I think it's worth it to repeat that being different is the main function of marketing. It's all there is. So
Be bold and brave.
exactly. Good. Well, thanks very much, everyone, for their attention. It was nice.